Hi, my name is Morgan and I'm a neuroscience researcher, and welcome to another Neuroscientist Reacts video. So if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. Once a month I do these reaction videos to different TV shows. Lately I've been doing a lot of Big Bang Theory videos, and so I thought this month we would switch it up and we're going to do an X-Files video. On other weeks whenever I'm not making reaction videos, I make neuroscience content where I answer your neuroscience questions. So if you'd like to ask a neuroscientist a question, please feel free to leave it in a comment below or send me an email at askaneuroresearcher@gmail.com. You can also follow me on social media, which I'll list here. That's where I put out a lot of polls and stuff to let people be more involved in my channel. So that's actually who decided what we're doing today. I put a poll out to see if people wanted reaction videos to different things, and people chose the X-Files. So that's where we are now. Social media is also where I announce when new videos are up, and I also post content of me in the lab doing different lab things or daily life, so if you want to keep up with me, that's how you can do it. Before I get fully into the video, also I'd like to say thank you so much to everyone who has been subscribing to my channel. It means a ton to me. I'm really close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and help me reach that goal. It would mean a lot. I already have a video planned for whenever I hit that goal, so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that you are too. So I try to say this in all my reaction videos. I fully understand that there has never ever in the history of ever been a TV show producer who was like, I want this show to be 100% scientifically accurate, and we're never going to say anything that's wrong, and we're going to have neuroscience consultants on set to make sure that we never say anything wrong. I understand that. I understand that the point of these shows are for entertainment. Please do not come at me. You clicked on a video called Neuroscientist Reacts. If I just sat here the whole time and was like, oh, that's fun, or like, oh, they got everything 100% right, this would be so boring, and you might as well just go watch the episode yourself. So I will be nitpicking things. Don't hate on me for that, please, because I love the X-Files so much. I do love it a lot more than the Big Bang Theory, so I'm sorry to everyone who subscribed to my channel for the Big Bang Theory, but the X-Files is also amazing. You should go check it out. If anyone is unfamiliar with the X-Files, don't worry. You don't need to have watched every episode to understand this one. So the X-Files is broken down into two categories, the mythology episodes and the Monster of the Week episodes. And what we're watching now is a Monster of the Week episode, meaning nothing that happens has any bearing on the entire rest of the series or the rest of the season. The mythology episodes have a lot more to do with the overarching plot, but the Monster of the Week is exactly what it sounds like. There's a monster, it's a week. The end. To give you a little bit of a background on this show, it focuses on two FBI agents who are working on the X-Files. The X-Files is a series of cases or mysteries that the government has deemed something that should not be looked into, or something that has sort of paranormal causes that they don't want to investigate or don't want to let the general public know about. And the two agents, Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, are the ones assigned to the X-Files, mostly to keep them from sort of spilling it to everyone, so they're allowed to work on the X-Files as long as they're not making it super public. Fox Mulder is the main one who's interested in the X-Files. He's very much believes in the paranormal and is constantly trying to get psychics involved and all sorts of other stuff, whereas Dana Scully is actually a medical doctor and a trained scientist, and she plays the skeptic of the pair. Now, I could talk for all day about the X-Files, but I won't subject you to that, but something that I do want to say is that the X-Files holds a special place in the heart of many women scientists, because the X-Files is one of the first, and in my opinion the only and the best representations of a female scientist in pop culture. There are not a lot of people who represent women scientists well or accurately, and I mean the X-Files is in no way real life. I don't think that they actually exist. I don't think there's really a Dana Scully out there investigating them, but she was one of the first representations of, she's a woman, she for the most part doesn't express a desire to have children or even a husband. She focuses very much on her career. For again, the most part, she manages to have a career partner who is a male who she does not express any romantic interest in for a long time, until people decided that shouldn't be the case anymore, but I won't get into that. But she's just a really great representation of women in science. And there's actually something that's been studied called the Dana Scully effect, where after the X-Files came out, a lot more women and girls expressed interest in science and became scientists because of the representation on television. So representation is really something that matters and something that a lot of groups have been getting more of lately. But I truly, as someone who was born after the X-Files was coming out and who was a baby for most of it, I still, to this day, have not seen as great of a representation of a woman scientist as Dana Scully. So I cannot recommend The X-Files enough. Because I am such a huge fan of The X-Files, I have already seen this episode, but the episode that we're going to be watching is in season 2. I'm in like season 7 right now, so it's been a while since I've seen it, and honestly I don't remember that much of it. The X-Files, because it is sort of very surface level sciencey, it doesn't really get into any super intense neuroscience. But from what I can remember, this episode involves a lot of psychology. It does mention some neuroscience, so I'll be talking about that as much as I can. There's a lot of overlap between neuroscience and psychology, and as a neuroscientist who studies mental illness, I have more overlap in that than others, so I think I can still add some thing to this conversation. Also, for the sake of time, I will be editing out any parts of the episode that aren't relevant to the plot, or maybe I'll hop in and summarize some things that happen, because the X-Files is like a 40 to 45 minute long episode, and I don't want to release a like 10-hour long video on it. So without further ado, this is a neuroscientist reacting to X-Files Season 2, Episode 3, Blood. So I'd like to butt in here with like for all you youngins back in the day, blah, 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 but honestly, I have no clue what's happening right now. This is in a postal office, so I can't tell you if what's happening is because of the show being filmed in the past, or if it's because postal offices use really outdated technology. But either way.
You okay?
I would love to see like a workplace hazards form for the postal office, because I feel like probably the most often occurrence would be a paper cut, considering I like get a paper cut every time I pick up a package.
Blood. It's only a paper cut. Listen, Ed, I need to talk to you.
Okay, so to summarize everything that just happened, because the X-Files is kind of slow-paced, and that's how they managed to get the 45 minutes out of it, the man who we just saw get the paper cut was just let go from his job. Basically, they just said that they've had cutbacks, and they weren't able to keep him on anymore. Oh, but they did tell him to stay on for the rest of the week, which is why he's going back to his desk. Honestly, I would imagine if you're having to stare at a screen like that all day, you would start hallucinating some stuff, because imagine just looking at numbers all day. Whenever I have to go through data analysis, I have to take breaks every once in a while because my eyes would just start flipping numbers around, and that's an issue for me. Side note, does anyone watch things that were filmed pre-2020 and have, like, reactions? Like, a crowded elevator with someone coughing in it? Like, I mean, it was disgusting before, but, like, it's extra bad now. Stressed.
Excuse me.
I was getting confused because, like, the messaging is different here. Before it was killing people, and now it's just saying that you can't breathe, but then it went to the killing thing, so.
Hey, Ralph, how you doing?
All right.
Thanks for coming on such short notice. I realize the FBI's behavioral science unit normally profiles murder suspects that are still at large, and must be odd being asked to profile our suspects, all of whom are dead. I am relieved the Bureau answered our request and sent you, because...
So here's a fun question, because they mentioned the behavioral science unit. Would anyone be interested in a Criminal Minds reaction video? Because I've considered it. But also, just to clarify things, Mulder is not part of the behavioral sciences unit. He's part of the X-Files. But he was going to be part of the behavioral sciences unit, so he does have, like, some of the same skills of a profiler, but he didn't fully make it because he developed this obsession with the X-Files.
in all honesty, Agent Mulder, whatever's going on here is way over our heads. The suspect's body is out on the sidewalk. We're holding the security guard who shot him. The witnesses that were in the elevator are down at the hospital. You can talk to them whenever you're ready. I've asked all the businesses in the building to close for the day. We've done our best to preserve the area for you. We thoroughly photographed the scene. The area's been sketched, but we haven't dusted for prints. Yet. We wanted to wait for you before we collected further evidence.
Was this damaged during the incident?
I'll find out.
May I see the suspect?
Things like this aren't supposed to happen here.
A 42-year-old real estate agent murders 4 strangers with his bare hands? That's not supposed to happen anyway.
He pulled out that much blood with his bare hands. That's a lot.
Since colonial times, there's only been 3 murders in this area. In the last 6 months, 7 people have killed 22. Per capita, that's higher than the combined homicide rate of Detroit, D.C., and Los Angeles. This town is not any of those places. In Franklin, you'll never have to pull off the road to make way for a celebrity driving with a gun to his head.
In each incident, the suspect was killed?
Suicide by cop. Each incident occurred in a public place. The suspect went crazy and refused to desist when ordered. Officers used deadly force in order to save lives.
Were autopsies conducted on the suspects for substance abuse?
Agent Mulder, this town is mainly made up of apple and cherry growers. These folks don't drink much. They certainly don't.
I have to laugh a little bit at shows like these because, first of all, I grew up in a very small town of, like, literally 200 people. And if a town's small enough for everyone to know everyone, they're also too small to have a police department. So, like, that's not right. But also, small towns that have the most substance abuse because there's literally nothing to do. And this is not me saying that. This is, like, scientifically proven because it's a lack of enrichment. Think about, like, how if you have a pet, it needs enriching toys. It needs different toys. It needs playtime and stuff. If you're in an environment with less enrichment, you're more likely to abuse substances because that's really the only way to keep your mind doing something all the time. So, yeah, if this were really as small as they're portraying it, there's a high likelihood that there would be substance abuse involved. But also, Not everyone who abuses substances is violent, and not everyone who is violent abuses substances.
Do drugs. Coroner's tests were negative. Played softball with this guy over Labor Day. He was one of those nice guys. Couldn't play and didn't bitch about being stuck in right field.
What's wrong with right field?
Always the first one to shake hands at the end of the game. Didn't matter whether he won or lost.
Gotta have an arm to play right field.
Bought a round of beers afterwards, even though he didn't drink.
I played right field. Let's have this analyzed by the Bureau's lab.
Okay, so whatever it is that's affecting them is affecting them at different rates, because the one guy saw stuff on the elevator and like immediately started killing people, and this guy saw the messages at his work and he's still not killed anyone.
Put your head back. I told you to leave it alone, okay? Now, don't touch it or it'll bleed again. Touch your...
Oh, but I forgot why this one's titled Blood. It's because there's this running theme of this guy is terrified of blood. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, is also kind of like a running theme in these shows that I've been reacting to, because also in The Big Bang Theory, there's a lot of like people being afraid of blood whenever people are in labs. Don't be afraid if you are a person who has a negative reaction to blood. You can still be a scientist. Don't worry. There are ways that we can incorporate you into science still. You don't always have to interact with blood.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Perpetrator, an outside factor is responsible. But I must concede frustration as to determination of the cause. A residue discovered on the fingers of the most recent perpetrator was analyzed and reported to be an undefined but non-toxic organic chemical found on plants, perhaps remaining from gardening. There have been reported abductee paranoia in UFO mass abduction cases.
I was wondering when you'd get to that.
I find no evidence of this to be the case. The single connecting trace evidence to the killings is the destruction of an electronic device at the crime scene. A pager, a fax machine, a cellular phone, a gas pump digital display.
With this show being as old as it is, it was around during the switch from like landlines to cell phones, and so they do always call it a cellular phone, which I just think is funny.
In all honesty, Scully, I've never had a more difficult time developing a profile. There is no way to know who will be a killer or who will be killed.
I'm gonna pause it right here because I just realized which episode this is and what is about to happen. Like I said, I've seen this episode, but it was a long time ago, so I don't remember much. But I do remember this part, and this is a really quick trigger warning for violent acts against women and violent acts against women of a sexual nature. So just skip ahead like 30 seconds because I'm just going to describe it really quickly. That way none of us have to watch it. So essentially what is about to happen is that a woman walks into a mechanic shop. The mechanic attempts to commit violent sexual acts towards her, and then she kills him. But there's also some electronic thing that tells her to kill him. So what they're going with is that the electronic thing told her to kill him. And they don't really super address that he probably should not, or definitely should not have been doing what he was doing to her. So that's what's about to happen. So she's our next murderer. But it's not handled very well by this show. So we're skipping over it. Okay, so just to walk that back a little bit, because it has been a second since I've seen this episode, he was not actually attempting to do anything sexual. Supposedly, we don't know for sure, it's kind of ambiguous, but the machine told her that he was going to. And that does not justify killing someone, but the way that this show plays it off is more like a, wow, women are really paranoid. And no, statistically, there was a very high chance that he actually was going to try something. So, no, women are not always paranoid. We have legitimate reasons to have a fear of men for various reasons, specifically due to sexually violent acts towards women that have historically always happened to us. So, anyways, moving on to it. Now this guy is dead. She killed him.
Agent Mulder. Larry Winter, county supervisor.
Pardon my rubber.
Can you tell me if this murder is more of the same?
They don't seem to be connected.
Or should I be relieved or more scared? I mean, is this the start of copycat killers?
Larry, it's not a copy of the other homicides. This wasn't committed in a public area. The suspect fled, covering his tracks. The killer appears not to have had a premeditated weapon.
They are connected. Mrs. McRoberts?
Yes?
This is Sheriff Spencer. I'm Agent Fox Mulder.
Basically, they discovered that the killing in the mechanic shop was related to the other killings, and now they're going to talk to the woman who did the killing, but they don't know that yet. So this woman who has now appeared is the one who did the killing at the mechanic shop. Hopefully that's not too complicated.
With the Federal Bureau of Investigation. May we come in?
I'm late for work.
You can blame me. Been having some car trouble?
That's my husband's department.
May I speak with him?
He just took the car to Pittsburgh for a business meeting. Is it okay if I have my breakfast?
It's the day's most important meal. This invoice was signed by you. Did you pick up the car last night?
Yes.
Okay, so this is important. He's looking at the same machine and not seeing the same message. So now we know that whatever is happening in their heads. So that's new. So they're likely having a hallucination of some sort.
Can you describe to me exactly how the dashboard readout was damaged? Mrs. McRoberts?
I did it. I broke it.
Why? Mrs. McRoberts? Did you see something in the readout? Mrs. McRoberts? I can help. Mrs. McRoberts?
Okay, so now we finally get to some science stuff. So like I said, Angela Scully is a medical doctor. She does a lot of autopsies on this show. So now Instead of just commenting on the cool X-Files-y part, maybe I can actually comment on some science.
Several anomalies were discovered during post-mortem analysis that were undetected in previous autopsies. Levels of adrenaline are known to be high in cases of violent death, twice as much as in victims of natural death. This subject's levels were 200 times normal. The adrenal gland displayed extensive adrenal hemorrhage, yet not...
I was just pausing this to fact check in my brain real fast, but everything she said checks out, I think. I'm not a medical doctor, but from what I know about the adrenal glands and adrenaline, makes sense to me.
From disease, but rather from where? Other physiological evidence present indicated episodes of intense...
I don't know what physiological evidence would indicate a phobia. Maybe they're saying like different hormone levels indicated that they were afraid, but I don't think that you could like tell a phobia from post-mortem results. But maybe they'll elaborate.
Phobia. Analysis of the vitreous humor extracted from the eyeball indicated the presence of high concentration of an undetermined chemical compound. This compound at its base is similar to the substance analyzed earlier on a perpetrator's finger. Although further qualitative...
So all of that's good to know. A side note, not really related to the science of it, but fun fact, I don't know that much about eyeballs. I actually used to study eyeballs for a little bit, so I know the amount that I know from that research, but neuroscientists don't particularly, like, we do study eyes to an extent, but as far as like our general education, what we're taught, we're not really taught that much about eyeballs. So unless you're working in an eye related lab, you're not going to learn very much about eyes aside from like how the optic nerve works in your brain that's connected to your eyes. But that's just fun information because I feel like I should throw some neuroscience into this episode.
Analysis must be performed. It is my opinion that this chemical, when reacting with adrenaline and other compounds secreted during phobic episodes, creates a substance similar to lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD.
Here's a fun fact. I made a video on LSD. I'll link it in the cards somewhere. LSD has some really interesting effects on your brain. It's really interesting to study. One of those effects is hallucination, so I could see where they're making this connection.
Sir, may we ask you to sign up for the blood drive?
Oh no.
Sir? Are you all right? Sir?
So this one's not really giving him like an actual message, it's just showing a lot of different images of violence or violent people. Here's another fun fact, because I know a lot of my viewers are not from America, or like a fair portion of you aren't from the United States. Yes, guns are very easy to buy. They were a lot easier to buy back then, but even nowadays we do sell them at Walmart. So yes, they're just there, and like gun shows are still a thing. I live in Texas, so it's a little bit more of a thing than it is for some of the northern states, but that's just a statement. I'm interested, so if they are saying that this is all due to an increase in adrenaline, or even just like partially due to an increase in adrenaline, the sweating kind of makes sense, and the heart beating definitely makes sense because adrenaline does make your heart beat faster. But I feel like if it's to the extent that they're saying, there would also be like some shaky hands. He wouldn't be like walking as calmly. Like he seems very like kind of dazed, but like not relaxed, but physically, like his physical body is mostly relaxed aside from the sweating. So that was a choice that someone made. So one of the overarching themes of the X-Files is government conspiracies. So there's a lot of times where Mulder sees something kind of innocuous, but just weird enough to make you question it, where you're just immediately going, well, this is clearly a government conspiracy now. And that's what that scene was for. So he dropped a bunch of dead flies? I don't know. But that's a fun cliffhanger to leave this on, because I just saw how long I've been filming for, and I don't want to release a 2-hour-long video. So this is going to be a 2-parter. Don't worry, I'm not going to subject you to waiting a whole month for the second part. I'll post both of these videos at the same time. I just don't want to put out a 2-hour-long video. So click the link up here or in the description to watch part 2. Go check it out. We'll maybe get to some more actual neuroscience by then. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this episode, and if there's other episodes of the X-Files or of other TV shows that you would like for me to do a reaction video to. If you have anything that maybe has actual neuroscience in it, I would love the suggestions. Please let me know. Also, if you think that I should just start an X-Files fan channel, let me know that. But anyways, like I said, I'll link part 2 in the description. I'll put a card up here. Please go check it out, and thank you for supporting my channel. Like I said, I'm trying really hard to reach 1,000 subscribers. I'm nearly there. Please just subscribe. It's free. It doesn't hurt anyone. It only helps me, so please. And I will see you next Wednesday, but also in 5 seconds if you go to part 2. Bye.